Hey, what's up? This is Zack here at the Genzio Media House with Hong, who's the president of OKX. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you, Zach? Great seeing you again.
It's great seeing you, and
Yeah.
it's so cool to being able to ask you questions and to reconnect. Hong actually interviewed me at OKX, and that was my first job out of the University of Washington, and honestly, one of the best learning experiences of my life. And I wouldn't be where I am without your leadership that in that kind of
Appreciate it.
environment and what I learned there. But before we kind of hop into things, if you want to give kind of a quick intro and sort of what OKX is doing at Consensus.
Yeah, sure. We actually, I was just here because I was on a panel earlier with DYDX founder Antonio, and we were talking about what we're seeing, uh, people moving on chain and the trends there. And our Web3 team, we're also here, meeting up with friends. We have been investing very heavily in our self-custody wallet over the last, I would say, 2, 3 years. And interesting because yeah, at the panel today, I was bringing it up. You know, OKX as a CeFi platform has been around for a long time, almost 10 years now. We've published our proof of reserve program reports on a monthly basis for 19 months straight. And the assets that we are holding custody for the customers on CeFi side is about 22 billion USD as of the latest report. But if you look at our wallet, surprisingly, the assets that the customers hold for themselves in the self custody wallet at OKX is also at 22 billion. So it's surprising how quick things can move, and people just explore different things on chain, and the self custody is the future. So yeah.
No, I couldn't agree more. And you've been a leader in that space for a very long time, preaching this on Twitter and in many other places, especially being a proponent of the Bitcoin ecosystem.
Yeah.
Um, can you talk a little bit about I mean, I think the proof reserves is really an industry leader that you
Mm-hmm.
guys started to do that.
Yeah.
Can you talk about maybe where you see the future of self-custody uh, going in the next couple of years?
Yeah. Uh, we we have been investing in self custody for a long time. The wallet that we offer to the customers is a self custody wallet similar to MetaMask, but we would like to think that it's more powerful than MetaMask. It's multi-chain because the way we see the world is it is multi-chain. 90% of OKX wallet users actually have activities across chains. So a big philosophy that we have for the self-custody wallet is that we are here to really provide access, to provide interruptibility, to enable people to access everything out there in Web3 in any way they want, if they choose to do that from one place for the point of convenience. So we've been investing a lot in that interruptibility. The wallet is connected to 100 plus chains, and obviously we have been very aggressive in connecting with layer 2, supporting Lightning, more than 3 years ago, supporting, our BRC20, supporting Runes as the first in the industry. So we feel like bringing that accessibility and interruptibility to customers is important. And the second piece I think is important about self custody is that it is a big thing in crypto native population, but I think we every time there was a crisis on CeFi side, people in industry all hope that the self custody will catch up with a larger population faster, but every time it's slower than what we would like
Hmm.
to see.
After FTX, you would have
Every
hoped.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, every time. And I think it's also kind of expected looking back because it is quite of a learning curve for people who don't know about Bitcoin initially, who don't know about, Ethereum, Doge, all kinds of different things within crypto for them to actually go and, create a self-custody wallet and properly manage their own private keys is actually a big learning process, let alone the psychological barrier they have to overcome. So I think one thing that we have internally been looking at is how can we actually lower that threshold entry point for people and make it easier for mainstream adoption for self-custody, because we do believe that that is a important value that crypto bring to the table for customers, right? On the one hand, on the CeFi side, we use proof of reserve program to put more transparency on chain, to hold platforms accountable, platforms like ourselves accountable. But how can we actually really put that ownership back into people's hand while respecting the fact that most people actually prefer convenience more than anything else? I think that's one area that we continue to invest in.
I
Um,
go ahead. Yeah, I completely agree.
yeah, yeah. We last year we brought MPC wallet to the market in our self custody wallet, and we also have account abstraction capability in the wallet. But we also seeing that those features, while being utilized in the self custody wallet by some customers, are not really widely utilized by crypto natives, right? So because crypto natives don't really care about those as much, so we're looking at how we can actually, bring those capabilities to mainstream customers, so that we can promote self custody capability a bit more. So that's an area that we will continue to invest in.
And I think it's extremely important in the way I want to see the industry move forward as well. Um, when you see kind of a global landscape, as OKX is really a global leader in so many different ways, where are you seeing sort of the adoption happen now globally in this cycle?
I think it's literally everywhere.
That's awesome.
It is everywhere, but it's really up to us as industry participants to invest in utility that we can bring to the table, because it really, like, if you look at what we've been doing as an industry in general, right? This year we've got Bitcoin Ethereum ETF being approved in US, to a lot of people's surprise, myself included. But that alone shows that there is value that Bitcoin and Ethereum have been providing, or are perceived as providing to a larger population. We obviously see that stablecoin is gaining traction, right? But then what else? What else can we actually offer as an industry to the broader population? So, for us, as a platform on both CeFi side as well as on the wallet side, we are really focused on understanding that future. What does that future look like? And how can we as a platform continue to build, be part of that infrastructure building uh, efforts, and enable more utility generation. Because crypto is here to stay, but how?
I love that. Crypto is here to
How?
stay.
Right? Yeah. So we really invest in those infrastructure layers.
When you look at sort of all of the narratives in crypto right now, because often it can be a very narratives driven industry. We have DeepIn, we have AI, there's so many different things going on. Where are you seeing kind of like the most excitement, or even personally, which area are you kind of most excited about?
Yeah. I mean, you probably know some of my questions already. I'm always excited about the narrative of Bitcoin, as always.
I love
Uh,
Bitcoin, yeah, as you know.
I think most people in the industry love Bitcoin. Obviously, the narrative of Bitcoin will continue to evolve, right? I think there's no question now about Bitcoin being store of value, being an investment asset class. I think that is, taking a stronghold right now. I think the debate right now is whether Bitcoin can also offer payments utility, whether there can be smart contract, Ethereum type of creativity that can be happening on Bitcoin, either layer one or layer two. There's a lot of debate and controversy around that, and I think that will continue to play out. From my perspective, my personal belief is that, you know, I think we will have to let the builders and market resort to their own resourcefulness and let it play out. And we'll ultimately see what happens. But ultimately, I believe that if we view Bitcoin as a settlement layer where the value is hold and defined ultimately, and for that to be a fundamental layer for a circular economy on top of it, we have to have a technology infrastructure whereby every other activities that we have can either live within the Bitcoin system or be able to communicate with Bitcoin layer. So I do believe that that will continue to evolve. We've been investing in Lightning, for example, right? For 3 years. Uh, I think that will continue. That will continue. Use cases will continue. The creativity side in Bitcoin, either layer one or layer two or layer three, I think that will also continue. We're happy to continue to observe and support as we see fit. Obviously, there are other chains that are being developed, and we continue to see that. As I mentioned on Web3 wallet, on our wallet, 90%, more than 90% of OKX wallet users actually have activities across chains, and that's why they have been using OKX wallet to start with. We see the dominance of Ethereum in crypto, excluding Bitcoin. The percentage of the Ethereum trading on DEX has been dropping below 50% for the first time this year. Because of meme coin trading outside. But whatever, yeah. But that percentage actually dropped to 40% for the first time. And I think that's an interesting trend. Is that going to continue? I don't know, maybe, right? But the price changes always precedes talent moving, from one place to another within an industry. So, and when you have talent, you have creativity, you probably have productivity. We probably see different things being produced, and I think that's an interesting area to continue to monitor. We see interesting entrepreneurial efforts continue on gaming side, on ID, decentralized ID side. Obviously, continue development on DeFi and AI as well. But as you point out, some of those are still narratives. But look, I think a lot of our human creativity starts with narratives. It starts with science fiction, and then some entrepreneurs try to turn those science fiction into reality. A lot of them failed, but a handful succeeded, right? It's about execution. Ideas is always there. So ultimately, it's about execution. It's whether we can actually turn those ideas into reality. And I do believe that when you have the market volatility, when you have speculations, and market movements, those actually serve as legit traction to talents who are actually essential for building the ecosystem. Just like Bitcoin, the only signal for Bitcoin is those price movements of Bitcoin itself. So, you know, interesting time. Yeah.
Oh, I'm extremely excited about the time that we're in, and there's everyone that I've talked to in the Bitcoin ecosystem, which I mean, as you know, Bitcoin got me into crypto. I was a teenager when I first started learning about Bitcoin, and to see sort of the growth, I think we often as an industry do sort of overlook Bitcoin sometimes in a weird way, even though it's, doing so many different things. I guess sort of in the Bitcoin ecosystem, what sort of you mentioned layer twos, layer threes, what sort of evolutions that are happening like now are you most excited about within Bitcoin particularly?
I think my personal point of view is that I think that payment uh, narrative will continue to play out. Uh, is it going to be a prevailing narrative right away? Probably not, right? Because if you look at the alternatives to cut people, uh, in developed countries, you still have traditional payment alternatives. Uh, in developing countries, whereby people are adopting crypto, stable coins are probably much easier than Bitcoin, Lightning, or any other way of using Bitcoin, directly as a payment. But I think that will continue to that adoption and the building on that layer. I think will continue, um, particularly when number one, the legitimacy of Bitcoin is being more recognized through Bitcoin ETF,
Crazy to see the ads in airports.
through
Yeah, like it's
like
everywhere.
that will take some of the question mark out of people's mind, right? Uh, Particularly for those who are sitting on the sideline who don't really know what it is, they will feel more comfortable like using Bitcoin as a potential medium of exchange because it's being recognized. And then secondly, I think as the price continue to go up when BRC20 or runes or other inscription kind of language happen on Bitcoin and driving the mining fees up, people naturally resort to layer two solution. So, like it or not, I think that actually helps develop the payment narrative on the Bitcoin in the Bitcoin ecosystem. And there are other efforts I'm aware of that within Lightning community that I think will probably also help with the adoption. But again, and now that 3 years ago, OKX was the OKX and OKCoin. Back then, it was two separate platforms, but that was the only platforms out there, major platform that actually integrated with Bitcoin. And later,
I remember.
others came, right? Coinbase joined, recently Binance joined, after that Kraken joined, and then recently Binance joined, and then Coinbase joined. So now you actually have major exchange platforms integrated with Lightning, and that's available. That actually major nodes. That's important for adoption. Cash App obviously have already had it. So I think that will continue. I think that would be interesting to observe what that means from a product and customer experience perspective. I think will continue to evolve. I think the um, the meme coin on Bitcoin is also something interesting to observe. We'll see how that goes, but there's a lot of controversy there.
Why? Why is there?
Huh?
I mean, I know, but why do you think there's controversy there?
I mean, obviously there is a controversy.
Yeah.
There obviously controversy whether what is the use case for Bitcoin?
Right, but it's
Can there
open.
be?
It's open.
I know, I know.
No, it's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Can it be? Is there, what's the point of having meme coin on Bitcoin, right? Is it effective taking up the block space in a way like this that is not related to settlement? Uh, uh, Again, my personal view is I think um, you can like it or not personally, but it is a natural development. It is out there. It's permissionless. It's out there. Like people and Taproot was approved. It was integrated into the Bitcoin Core protocol. I don't know, was it for 2 years ago, I think. And Taproot allows smart contracts, so it's a natural evolution that people are using it. You can discuss and debate whether it's a good use of the blocks, but I think ultimately market will decide. Market will decide. But I think it's actually interesting because about 3 years ago, I went to a conference in El Salvador and around Lightning, and I talked about my perspectives on Bitcoin. And back then, I actually also envisioned that Bitcoin will go through different stages. in its narrative. Starting with store of value and then investment category asset, and then payment. How can it evolve into a payment, and then how can it become a more programmable social money? And I think having ability to have the smart contract on Bitcoin uh, is an important development in that direction. Uh, is it going to be a successful experiment? I don't know, but I think having different points of view in the ecosystem and having people working on different things is actually a healthy thing.
I couldn't agree with you more. I kind of wanted to just get into like a bit of your personal story and sort of how you, you know, since I worked at OKX, sort of what has come. You became, president and stuff. Can you talk
Yeah,
about that journey a little bit?
sure. Yeah. I spend most of my time, as you know, prior to my current life in on Wall Street. Right? I spent 8 years at Goldman, and then I did 3 years of a growth investment. Um, and I think my decision uh, coming into crypto in an operational role is one of my best career decision ever because I've been really immensely enjoying
I'm
it.
so glad you made that decision.
Yeah, I think it's a great industry. It's very visionary, but also there's a lot of practical things that we have to work through, and there are a lot of passionate, smart people around who share that same passion. I think that's great, and I've been also enjoying the building process ever since. Uh, I think earlier days, as a CEO for OKCoin globally, we spent a lot of time building a global infrastructure from an organizational perspective. Building the product for a regulated market like U.S. or Europe. Investing in our uh, um, organizational capability when it comes to compliance and risk and corporate governance within OKCoin as a global platform. And then about 2 years ago, we started making some strategy changes, and we decided that it's better to bring OKCoin and OKX together, whereby we can actually draw the strengths from the two different platforms and two different businesses, and build under one product, one brand, one business, one platform. And I think that's also a great and correct decision. So we've been investing in that direction over the last 2 years, very steadily making progress, um, building in different jurisdictions. We continue to build in Europe, obviously, right? We have our license with Malta, VFA license with Malta. We've just finished our rebranding exercise in Europe. So going forward, we will be serving EA market with OKX brand under Malta's VFA license. We're working very proactively with the regulator to make sure that we can meet the MiCA requirements on time. It's an ongoing process. We've been investing in that market for a long time, and now under OKX brand with OKX product, both on CeFi side as well as the Web3 wallet, we feel very excited about what we can do there, right? We have been, launching in Latin America. We have Brazil launched last year, local team, local setup. We're exploring Argentina. We're working on that. I've been very passionate about Latin America when I was doing OKCoin, but back then OKCoin was a small startup, and we didn't have much resources to actually go and build locally in Latin America. Now we can with also a global product that is customizable in different markets. We launched in Australia recently. We have a license locally where we can actually offer derivative product in a compliant way to institutional customers as well as verified qualified retail customers. We will take it slow there. We want to make sure that we can do it right, and local community feel comfortable. We feel comfortable. Regulator feel comfortable. So it's going to be a long process, right? We've got our license in Dubai that we are going to activate soon. So there are a few between the um, in principle approval versus the final approval. There's some work that we need to do internally, so we're preparing for that. And we got our in principle approval from MSA as well, so we're preparing for that as well. So there are a lot of things happening, but
So
there's a pretty consistent trend, as you can see. So we want to make sure that we build locally. Uh, Ultimately, there's locally compliant product that we can offer to local community under local leadership, and we can invest in those areas long term. And then hopefully we can also on top of that, we bring in the Web3 strength that we have from a product perspective, and ultimately give people more what they want.
awesome. Well, I have just one or two more questions, and we gotta move on to the next guest. For the next question I guess I have is, what advice would you give to entrepreneurs who are building startups in the Web3 space?
I have that's a great question. There are two things I want to say. One is, last my personal experience in this space. I'm not a founder, obviously, but I've been building with a team for the last 4 years, and I think what I've realized is that you really have to. It's the same. It's the same takeaway that I've had when I was at Goldman. Observing how capital markets works and observing how more mature business and mature leaders work. Basically, ultimately, what matters is whether you're building something that matters to people. Right? There are noises and there are market cycles, but ultimately, it's about whether we can do something that is useful, be someone who is useful, build something that is useful. So I think from where I'm sitting, for particularly builders and entrepreneurs in the space, make sure that we work on products that actually are addressing real problems that is already out there, that actually crypto can address well, instead of trying to work up some product that you know that address a problem that is fitting
Doesn't
our
exist.
problem solution. I think ultimately that is the key. Understanding what customers actually where they're struggling, and then see if there's a solution to address that, vice versa. I think that's going to be the most important thing. The second thing is, I remember uh, interviewing a candidate, I forgot whom, but when I was interviewing a candidate who also had some entrepreneurial experience before, one thing that he said to me really resonate with me a lot. He said, he has been in crypto for a while, and uh, one thing that people always say is that crypto moves fast. Crypto changes a lot. There are a lot of changes you have to, catch up and all that stuff. But then he said one thing that he realized was that actually you don't have to change a lot. You don't have to move fast all the time. Sometimes you actually want to slow down, and you just need to focus on what actually matters. Because otherwise, you either get burned out or you get distracted. Or you end up working on things that actually doesn't matter, or made silly mistakes and gone, right? So sometimes actually slowing down makes sense, takes time, you know, take a long term view. I think that actually makes sense.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the interview. Really appreciate your time.
Thank
Obviously,
you.
I'm sure you have a lot of stuff going on. So thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
See you soon.